So what is Gareth Soloway doing right now with Bitcoin?
So right now with Bitcoin, I actually have a small position, which I'm looking for a small bounce. This is a very quick swing trade. I'm a swing trader by nature and a day trader. So I'm expecting us to move back to about 52 to 54,000, creating that right shoulder. And then I will be on the sidelines as it declines. My bigger positions where I'm going to put in some serious capital will be when we see 20,000 or sub 20,000. That'll be for a longer term investment in Bitcoin, and I'll hold that for multiple years.
Since it's our first time speaking, Gareth, interested to get your ideas around gold and other commodities via Bitcoin.
Yeah.
You like gold?
I love gold, right?
Wow.
So I'm a big fan of gold right now.
Okay.
Believe it or not, and I'm going to bring up a chart for you guys right here, but I believe gold will actually be the best performing asset in 2022, beating the stock market and beating Bitcoin.
Oh my
so
God.
I know that sounds, that's probably earth-shattering news. So first of all, check out this channel that you created. Now, a lot of people, especially Bitcoiners, they're going to say, well, gold hasn't done anything. Everyone's getting into Bitcoin. Honestly, this is exactly what you want to see from gold. So number one, the big move up from 2019 to 2020, that was a huge move. This is what's called digestion or a bull flag of consolidation. So that's actually a bullish pattern forming on the gold chart. The next thing you have to keep in mind is once you break this line, which is around 1865, you should shoot all the way back to close to 2100. And I think by the end of 2022, you're looking at a potential $3,000 price target on gold. And the last thing I'll say is if you compare the mid 70s to the mid 85 range, which is a hugely inflationary period and probably the closest to what we're experiencing now, gold for the first few years of those high inflation periods did very little. And it was later in the cycle, kind of in the late 70s, where gold just started to rip higher. And it almost seems like we're repeating that in the charts right now.
Okay. So two thoughts here. One, so then do you think that the inflation story is not temporary and here to stay, a bigger problem, and that's what will drive up gold? And do you see the dollar, look at the dollar strength now. Where's the US dollar if gold's going to reach 3,000?
Yeah. So this is the problem with, the situation with inflation. So, you've seen oil, you've seen natural gas come back in, which is part of the battle. The bigger battle for inflation that's going to keep inflation high for a long period of time is the wage increases that are going through. So, if you're Apple or if you're even just a convenience store and you've had to raise your minimum wage from $10 to $20 to get an employee in the door, you can't all of a sudden just double the prices of things on the shelves, right? You can't pass that inflation through. And remember, wage inflation is the biggest component of inflation, right? That's the biggest expense that a business has. So when you're having to raise these, what's going to happen is these businesses are going to push through the inflation or raise prices for multiple years until they kind of compensate for the jump in wages here. And that's going to make inflation last for many, many years. I don't necessarily think it's going to be 10% for many years, but I certainly think 5 to 7% is a likely multiple year inflation rate going forward. And it's not a fun thing for smaller, lower income and middle incomers. It's going to be hard for them.
All right. I hear the silver folks yelling in my ear if I don't ask you this. Silver.
All right.
Silver.
Silver.
Yes.
Let's take a look at that.
Getting there, people. Silver.
Yes. Always good to go over silver. So the silver chart is actually very bullish as well. Right now, it's holding on to this support right here, which is right around $22 per ounce. I do think there's a small chance it could dip. It's trying to break down. It's hit this line many, many times over. And if it breaks down, then you're going to see a move down here to this level here at around 19. Now, ultimately, this is still bullish consolidation. Even if it dips here, I will be a big buyer. You can see the reason I have that technical level. This is a former pivot, and former pivot. So there's a lot of supports right around here. But the key reason for understanding silver and why it could be a little bit of an issue versus gold being a pure play for inflation is that it's an industrial metal as well. So if we start seeing that slowdown in the economy because rates are going up, because the Fed is pulling money out of the system, because the stock market's declining, people don't think that they're super wealthy anymore because, their portfolios have gone down 10 or 15 or 20%, that could impact in the near term silver. But the long-term basis is that The Fed is going to come back to the rescue. As soon as unemployment starts to spike back up, they're going to come back in with more monetary easing. And just the fact that the debt in the US is so high, they can't let interest rates go that high anyways.
Okay, so you like gold, silver, not as much, but you like silver.
Yeah.
In terms of the crypto space, outside of Bitcoin, what does Gareth like?
So, overall, this is where it gets tricky, right? So as a swing trader, I like Cardano. It's getting into some levels that make sense to me. So if you look at the chart here on Cardano here, and let me erase my former lines, you have some very significant support coming up just above $1. And there's even some, you could make a case that this was above $3 here, and it's now hovering at $1.24. So there is an oversold condition that should get it to bounce. So I like that. I think Polkadot for a near-term trade. But I do want to be clear here, folks, is that you have to be very, very cautious on the altcoins. So this is one of the key points. If you look at the Amazon chart, and this is getting a little bit more weird, but it's very important. The Amazon chart in 2000 looks exactly like the Bitcoin chart does now. And from 2000, we had Amazon trading around $80 a share. It went down to $5 before it obviously went to 3,000 and change where it is now. My fear is that if we're repeating the .coms, that you're going to see a lot of the altcoins go to zero, just like a lot of the .coms got wiped out. Now, the strong will survive. So the Bitcoins, the Ethers, maybe Solana, maybe Cardano, some of these, but just be ready for that type of flush out. You can't have meme coins. I mean, the fact that a joke coin like Dogecoin or Shiba Inu can be a $60 billion asset is kind of scary, honestly, for those of us that have been in this market for a long time.
Gareth, I guess finally, another big news item that kind of went under the radar, but Bank of England coming out warning folks to avoid Bitcoin. Now, I think this is an interesting news item because here we have the Bank of England, feeling or, compelled to come out with a statement regarding Bitcoin. Is that out of fear or true concern?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think there's probably part of both, right? So I think central banks are getting a little nervous about, cryptocurrencies, which don't have any, the central banks can't technically control those. So I think there's partially fear, but I also think, just looking at what's gone on, and remember, these central banks are aware that inflation is becoming an issue and they're going to have to tighten. Right. So they could be saying, hey, listen, guys, we're going to tighten. That's going to make money less easy to get or less easy to borrow, which inevitably is going to force asset prices down. Bitcoin has a history of 80% drops in every cycle. Be ready for something like that. So maybe hopefully there's an altruistic kind of view to it, too, from the central bank.
Before we continue, help us clicking that YouTube like button and subscribe now to our channel. This shows the algorithm that you valued this information. And it helps us spread that message. Sharing is caring. And now, let's continue.
Do you want to know one thing about crypto? I made over 3,000% in profit in a few weeks. Fact is, the traditional financial system, the traditional money system makes you poor, not rich. If you want to earn $500,000, $1 million, you have to wait until you're 50, 60, 70 in the traditional financial system. And you probably will still be broke. And you will be old. This is not a sexy combination, as you can imagine. But the question is, how can you start in crypto and make these profits? Where to invest? Where to start? My name is Gunnar and I'm from Germany, as you can hear. And things are a little bit different in Germany. More about that later on. Fact is, there are lots of different cryptocurrencies. It's a gigantic universe where beginners and professionals get easily lost. But there is light at the end of the tunnel. There are 7 key steps you need to follow to become successful in this market. You have to know them, and if you fail one of them, it's literally impossible to succeed in this market. Just an example, one of the key points is your exchange, and one of the biggest are, for example, Binance and Coinbase. These are trusted and well-established exchanges, but, and this is a big but, you won't find the super profitable coins on those exchanges. The unknown super profitable coins that get gigantic profits are not traded on those kind of exchanges. They are traded on much smaller insider platforms that are barely known. And I can tell you what those super secret exchanges are and why they are so profitable. And another super important thing are the right information sources. The point is, the internet is gigantic. There are hundreds and hundreds of YouTube channels, blogs, pages, and much more. And there are also market makers and influencers. For example, Elon Musk, he is not a crypto guy, but the moment he recommended Dogecoin, it went through the roof, to the moon, so to say. But why did he recommend it? Where did he hear it from? He didn't hear it from newspapers. And believe me, he is listening to someone. But you have to know who, and you have to react before he is reacting. This is really important. And these are only 2 of the 7 steps you have to follow in order to be successful in crypto. And if you want to know all of these steps in much more detail, and if you want to have a comprehensive checklist, here's what you should do. There is a link below this video. Click on this link and you will get the opportunity to subscribe to my channel. Click on the link and you will see a video where I explain the next steps. So see you soon. Click on the link now. I'll see you there.